So there's some kind of note that this started. It says recording. Okay, anyway. Yeah, welcome everyone to the Kured meeting. Today is the 5th of October, and this is the first meeting we're having as a CNCF project.
Hooray! Congratulations.
Yeah, well done, everyone. Yeah, we have a bit of an agenda today. I was thinking that after we've had a look at what's still left to do for the CNCF move, we could start planning a bit of an announcement. I think we have almost everything ready, and I would sort of hope that we would attract new folks into the project now. And yeah, maybe we can line up the 1.11 release with the announcement as well, so we let people know what's new. Did you have anything else you wanted to discuss today?
I'd love to get in real time just an update and see how I've been extremely busy, so I haven't really been helping. So I'd love to maybe set a day aside to do some general OSS work and contribute a little bit more to this migration. But I mean, the migration seems like it's largely done. But I agree that outreach and rebuilding the community now that we're in CNCF is probably the goal for the next 6 months, 12 months or something.
Yeah. Okay, so on that, the CNCF more, what's left to do? Jean-Philippe, you might have a better idea of what we broke when we moved the repository. I know that some tests are sort of missing, or we need to re-add the tests.
Correct. I created issue for that. The move itself did not trigger loss of coverage, but the fact that we use this new organization to split the charts from the code, which I think is a good thing, caused it. And the reason why is because we wanted earlier to have not too many CI minutes, let's call it this way, and have one CI system that is testing both our manifest and our Helm charts and testing our features with the Helm charts. Now we can't use that anymore in the current setup. We need to increase the coverage inside the Git repository tree of Kured and increase coverage in the repository tree of the Helm chart. And I think this is how we could do it. I also saw there is a possibility from GitHub to have, you know, this cross repository testing, but without going that way, we just need to, I would say, compensate the loss of coverage we did while we split, because for splitting, it was convenient to just say, okay, I'm going to disable the Helm charts testing from the Kured repository. And so that's basically what's remaining. It is mentioned in the issue, and there is a link to the code of the removal of the testing. So it's basically going and doing the other way, and reintroducing that code, but introducing to the right place. So for example, if we continue to test with the Helm chart, then, well, it needs to be in the Helm chart repository. But if we want to cover that feature inside Kured directly, so not wait for the training part of the Helm chart, then we need to do it a bit differently, but in Kured repository. That's up to, I would say, the implementation and where we consider the testing is the most important or relevant.
Cool. That makes sense. I haven't looked at the issue, but based on what you just said, it sounds like the best possible scenario would be to kind of refactor the tests in the Kured repository a little bit so that it did all the same functional coverage using just vanilla YAML instead of the Helm charts.
Correct.
And then add Helm specific tests into the Helm repository. That would probably be the best way to do it. It'd actually make things easier because, as we've probably noticed, when we do a release or when you add a new feature and you have to kind of add the feature and then add the Helm chart as a follow-up PR, which is the way you should do it, getting your tests to agree can be really weird when it's all happening in the same repo. So it'll actually probably make things, even though it might be a little bit more juggling, I think that process will be a little bit easier to reason about as a human.
Yeah, and I guess that it also comes with a documentation aspect. So we can be very clear nowadays that when you implement a new feature in QLD, you introduce the test that goes with it. It can be exposed using the manifest. By default, for example, it can be commented out, but then you can just I will remove the just part. There's never going to be a just thing, but then to make it clear to people, we can have the documentation around it. Like, okay, this is how you introduce a feature. This is how you're going to do it. This is our official stance. And then when this is done and it's tagged for the next release, then you can expose it to the Helm chart or something like that. Something that we can decide as a practice. But I would say it would bring the clarity that we were, I would say, lacking. But we made the best out of what we had in the past, and now we have an opportunity to improve, and that's just that. So I think it's something that we should have. It's not a must-have for the next release. I think that we didn't introduce new code for QD so far, and so, or very little, let's call it this way. So I think that the test coverage that we currently have is enough for next release, even though I don't like to say that. But I would say pragmatically, we could go with a release without the extended test coverage that without recovering the test coverage that we've lost. But of course, it would be better to work on the coverage to at least arrive to feature parity compared to what we did before.
Is there anything else you sort of see missing? Anything else we broke? I know that we moved away from using Docker Hub. I think for now, GHCR seems to be suiting us well. But is there anything else you noticed we need to bring back?
Well, I think
is there redirect to from the old Helm chart URL, or does that just break everybody and folks had to kind of update all their CI pipelines?
Sadly, it had to break because the link at some point got removed, and well, basically the redirection started to break, and it's impossible to bring the redirection back. So
right, and I think actually is sort of always surprising to me, but I actually think a minority of Kured customers actually use the Helm chart, and I think most people package it up in YAML, and so that would maybe explain. I'm speculating there a little bit, but I've seen this in other projects. There are a lot of people who just prefer raw YAML for whatever reason, but I wonder if that's why folks are able to survive, because it's a big deal. I would think we'd be hearing more complaints from people.
I was quite surprised that in the couple of hours where we were doing the transition and stuff broke, that there were a couple of issues where people commented and they were all using Helm, and then we figured out, okay, they're all coming from Artifact Hub, so we reclaimed the entry and
I see.
Updated it. So yeah, it was really surprising how many people commented on the issue and reacted to it. But so they were all using Helm.
well,
Yeah,
that's extremely convenient that they're using it through Artifact Hub, because then we can just change, we can update the Kured formula in one place and fix a bunch of people. That's yay, Artifact Hub.
It's a good thing that it shows that people are using the software that we are producing. That's the first step, right? And so I mean, joke aside, even though we broke some stuff and people started to see it, I'm expecting that people will continue to see it, but because the fix is easy, we might not see the, I would say, the largest impact. People will just change the URL of the Helm chart repo, and then it's just gonna continue to work, including the previous versions are working. So it's kind of convenient.
Okay.
In terms of, you were asking what are the, I would say, the other parts, what's left to do. I think that the work that Christian did on changing image building and improve on the, sorry, it's, if you, I hope that you can still hear me because Zoom says that my internet connection is
No, it's good.
unstable.
You sound great.
Great. So Christian worked on this new image building, and I think it's great. But I think there are extra steps to do, especially around the user friendliness of the image building from when you are outside the GitHub CI. And so this is something that we might have to look for. But I don't think this is related to the CNCF move or to the release. So this is something that we can evolve over time. But this is something that I consider important for user friendliness.
Makes sense. I'm gonna, if I may bring up a slightly related but different topic, do we have any idea if we get test grid with CNCF Sandbox? Do you know what test grid is?
I do
Sort
not
of standard. Know. I'll paste a link to it. I can look into it myself because I know some folks who have sandbox projects, and I can ask if they're using test grid. It's kind of like the central dashboard for upstream Kubernetes projects. But I don't know if CNCF Sandbox is sufficient. It would, the benefit would be that we would be publishing more broadly our test coverage. We get, you know, some sort of visual metrics for free. And just for all of us developers, it makes it a little bit easier to hop from project to project because there's a similar sort of interface that you're using. So, but I can do some investigation, and if that's a possibility, I can bring it here in a follow-up meeting.
Sweet. Yeah. So what I noted down, so we got a lot of new resources. I pinged you about all of them. Like, we have a Netley file, we have a Zoom account. I moved all the old YouTube videos to a thing we all can access. So I'll start documenting that stuff. I think this is more of a longer term goal, but the TOC sort of said we should take a look at governance. So essentially codifying like how we take decisions. And luckily there's like a project template, and we sort of adapted it for the Flux project because it's a bit bigger and it has like more historically grown governance, so we adapted it. But I put a link into the agenda documents in the meeting minutes. I don't think we need to go through it now, but I think if we all could take a look, see how we feel about it, if it's something we should adopt. And maybe it's just very straightforward that we just copy and paste it into the repo and then we're done. That would be great. But I don't think we need to focus on it on the next couple of weeks, but if we all have like a good feeling about it, then we can probably adopt it quickly.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah.
And I agree. We can probably, for the scope of this project, mostly copy and paste and just benefit from the codification that has already been established by other projects.
Exactly. So I think so far, I feel like we've done a great job at taking decisions where we all essentially worked until we agreed on something, but we didn't block on each other as well. And that in general, I think is something we should strive for. And if we also let people know how they can, or we can set expectations, what they need to do to be able to join as a maintainer or whatever, or I think then that's everything we need for now.
I agree on the importance, and I will review it.
Super. What else? I think that's largely it, really. Everything else, I mean, there's a couple of tiny small things that we need to add the Kured Dev project to some CNCF website, and they need an SVG logo for it. So we asked somebody to do it, and there's a little bit of herding cats involved, but it's all small pieces by now.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Daniel, do you have any sense of how long you can commit to Kured Dev? Are you doing PM stuff for Flux? Is that your day job? I mean, I'm sure that's like a big one because that's a huge project.
Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah. For me, it was just very important because I cared about the project. I realized how many people used Kured Dev, and there were, patches sitting there for a while after Adam had left Weaveworks, and that's why I started investing time into it. And when Alexis said, let's go, donate it to the CNCF, for me, it's I really want to get more people involved, and maybe at some stage it will also for me be easy to say like, okay, I think you all got this, and then
right.
I
think that makes sense for me as well. I mean, Jean-Philippe, are you feeling like this is a temporary re-engagement due to the sandbox thing, or are you actually freed up to participate a little bit more in the coming
That's
year
a
or so?
difficult question because I'm in between two jobs right now. So it's I can't answer on that right now. So, but I think to be a maintainer in the long run, you should use the software and being actively involved with it. And so hence I can't answer to that question right now. But right now,
that sounds totally fair. That sounds totally fair. Well, one thing that occurs to me in the interest of trying to grow the community is we might want to invest more upfront in having these regular discussions, so that when the opportunity arrives to invite someone in, it's in my experience, it can be very difficult when you find someone interested in, and it's like, oh, let's come chat during office hours. It's 3.5 weeks from now. So it's like, it can be hard. And so, sometimes we've gone months without meeting. And that's been appropriate given the sort of state of the project in the last year. Like, not much is changing, which is appropriate, I think, for the user community. We, just keeping things stable. That's great. But I think it's a suggestion we can think about, that even if it's just two folks here, or maybe even one person just sitting by himself for a half hour, doing that as a routine for 3 to 6 months may set us up better to take advantage of opportunistic drive-bys where it's like, yeah, come by next Wednesday at 8 and introduce yourself and tell us about your use case and blah, blah, blah.
I think that's great. That we should be really inviting to new contributors and help them, if they can't find their way around, or they want to get to know the team. What we've done in the cluster add-ons group was that we moved to a schedule of meeting every 2 weeks, and we said, if there's nothing on the agenda document is open for everyone, so add stuff, but if there's nothing on the same day, then the meeting doesn't happen. That I found a good compromise. So if there's nobody there, nothing to talk about, and okay, let's all skip the meeting.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well, I feel confident that so I'm working on a bunch of things, primarily focused on cluster API, but Kured Dev is such a sort of primitive second day operations tool that and I've been working on other things that are sort of Kured Dev related. So I feel confident that I can continue to spend time on this, and my management chain will give me the thumbs up for the, next year or so. I don't think that's controversial for me. So I think that I will maybe share some thoughts asynchronously. I don't think we can solve the world today, but I would be happy to sort of just try to do the week-to-week work of getting new contributors on, and maybe setting a goal of having these meetings be 5 or 6 deep, say 9 months from now. Because I do think in the long run, I would love to see you spin off, Daniel, and then maybe just stick around as emeritus as long as you'd like. But for the benefit of the Kubernetes ecosystem, I do think that Flux is super, super important, and would not want to distract you from that.
Yeah, I mean, I really took this on as a bit of a hobby project, and getting it into the CNCF, I really enjoyed the process. Like it's been fairly smooth.
Cool. Yeah, no, I mean, it's been really sort of just surprisingly, the fact that it even happened was somewhat surprising, and it feels really good to have gone through that and feel like we know how this works, and we can share this experience with the next project that might need it.
Yeah, it's definitely validation. I think what was apparent to them was that the project has been around for such a long time, and like quite a few people use it, and it's nothing super controversial. It's there, and I think that's why they gave this the thumbs up easily.
Yeah, that's great. I haven't gotten a sense from talking to other projects in the sandbox that there is an urgency to sort of graduate out of the sandbox. If you do hear that, I think we should take note of that. Have you had any impression from the folks you've been working with in CNCF that, okay, you've got 18 months to prove that you're moving in some, future direction, otherwise you're going to get demoted? I don't think that that's how it works. So I don't think we have any urgency to sort of like, it's not like a typical business setting where we have to like increase profits 20% year over year. I think we can get comfortable and focus on growing the developer maintainer community.
Exactly. I think that's important, and that maybe also spend some time on documentation, make the website nice and functional and explain everything well. And that's a good thing. With the size and scope of Kured Dev, it's not terribly complicated. There's not. It's
completely 100%. Yeah,
it should be fine, really. Okay, cool. The release. So we recently updated to the newest Kubernetes dependencies and everything. That seems to be working. Christian brought in, a bunch of things like the using Go releaser and Sift for generating SBOMs. Do we have anything else we sort of want to include? Anything else in the release, or is it primarily going to be bring back the tests, or what do we want to do?
Yeah, I would vote for maybe spend a little time on the tests and not. I actually have a couple of sort of feature PRs, but let's not include those in a new release. I can present those in future meetings. So I would vote time box some tests, So if we can spend a few hours and get that test coverage, we'll feel even better about the release. But I think I agree with Jean-Philippe that it's not strictly necessary to cut a release based on what's actually in the release.
Okay, I just added the test coverage issue to the milestone. Yeah, okay. That's uncontroversial then. Great, yeah, and so if there's nothing more to say about the release, I currently have a very empty draft document for the Kured Dev Sandbox announcement. If you have a couple of or it would be great if you could just add a couple of bullet points, maybe now, maybe later, just things you would want us to include, because I was going to post this on the Weaveworks blog, also get it on the CNCF blog, and try to get as much coverage out of this as possible, so that people, sign up, join us on Slack and our Twitter and all the rest of it, and also tell them about the most recent release. So while we have people's attention, we could tell a bit of the story behind Kured Dev, or what we've been doing in the past year or whatever. Is there anything else you think? And I'm happy to write this up. I write blog posts like this all the time, so if you just add a couple of bullet points, I'm happy to expand on each of them. What do you think
that sounds great.
Mention.
I'm looking, is the link to this, oh, it's the sandbox announcement. It looks different in this. I'm opening up a browser tab. So I'll add some, I'll maybe just blast some content today. And then if you want to then take that and convert it into narrative form. Thank you for doing that in at least your second language, maybe your third, I'm not sure.
Second. That would be French, and you don't want me to write this announcement in French.
It would actually be pretty cool if the announcement was in 3 languages. That would be.
That's right.
Well, I can help on translation if you
yeah, well, Jean-Philippe can do the French, you can do the German, and I'll do the, I mean, I'm sure you can do the English fine, Daniel, both of you do, but.
You started to say, and I will do the, no, in fact, Daniel will do. That was nice. Daniel, I wanted to say thank you on that part, because I'm definitely less good at, I would say, my English is bad today. I'm not excellent at writing prose, and so I trust you, Daniel, to have the good message out there. So thank you in advance.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, now that I just wrote sign up to Twitter, do we want to have a mailing list? Should I ask the CNCF to give us a mailing list as well?
I think we do have one, actually.
That's just internal. It's a
oh, I see. Okay,
just for the maintainers. They often use it to spam us about,
I see. So then I was noticing like 4 or 5 names I didn't recognize being joined to the list. You're saying those are CNCF maintainers, basically.
Yes.
I see. Okay.
Essentially, they have like one internal big CNCF project maintainers alias, which expands to 1,000,002 people. And that's how they essentially make sure that all the CNCF projects know about the stuff that is coming at KubeCon and, all the rest of it. So expect some of those emails, but it's also going to be, I don't think we get as much marketing and PR help as a sandbox project yet, but there might be some opportunities for us that, I don't know, we could, join
Yeah.
the,
So really, what
yeah.
are you be talking about a Google group, a public Google group, I assume, right? That would be the.
Yes. So we could also tell people like join our mailing list, and people have questions there, or we cross post some of our info there.
Yeah, let's just post that as an open question. I don't know the answer. I think that for me, the thing is there going to be enough activity to justify our own mailing list, or is there a larger mailing list we can just be integrated into? For example, Cluster API, I went to their landing page, and they are currently using the SIG cluster lifecycle Google group. So
That's right.
they don't have their own mailing list.
Yeah.
CNCF Sandbox as a group is not a vertical group, so you can't.
Yeah. It's,
like, just because I'm interested in one CNCF Sandbox project, I don't really want to hear news about 3 other ones because they might be completely.
yes.
Whereas a SIG, like SIG auth or SIG node or SIG cluster lifecycle, the various groups participating in that tend to have some relationship, so it may be of interest. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think we should think about that.
Yeah. Maybe later.
I think it's a good idea to build bridges with those communities, and so mailing list would be the good starting point. And so if we have contact with, for example, SIG node, for which we discussed in the past, this might be a good thing for the project in the long run. It's building bridges, so it's
yeah, well, I think if we were to, we could certainly announce a new group in SIG node, for example. So it would be appropriate if we set up our own mailing list to do a one-time announcement to all of SIG node with a broadcast, or Kured now has its own mailing list as part of the CNCF Sandbox. That would be appropriate, I think.
Or we could also, maybe send our announcement, maybe a shorter version of the announcement, that we now a CNCF Sandbox project. Also
right.
send it,
Yep.
send it there. Super. So that's the cluster lifecycle mailing list. Brilliant. Is there anything else?
I don't have anything else for content of this document, nor any extra items on the agenda.
What do you, Jack?
Feeling good.
Sweet.
So maybe between now and maybe in the next week or so, I will propose an async over Slack or something, a bi-weekly schedule.
Yeah, super.
And I can commit to that every week if other folks can't.
Sure, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
And there was no sarcasm in my voice. I tried, right? Because generally I'm generally sarcastic, but no, here it's very good. Thanks.
Well, I mean, I appreciate both of you. I think you're both +9 to me, so I appreciate you extending your day a little bit to do this. I sympathize with all that this summer when I was in Europe. Lots of 6 p.m. check-ins with folks.
That's right. But usually our meetings are very to the point, quick. Everything is quite straightforward, and I expect things to stay this way.
Yeah, that's right. We'll always we'll try to assume that if someone's having their first beer of the evening during this meeting, we should make the meeting content appropriate for that setting.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Thank you for consideration.
I'm thinking of myself largely. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna go drop and say hi to my team real quick.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Really good to see
we're
folks.
done anyway. So
congrats
have a great rest of your day
on all the great work, Daniel.
Yeah, to you all as well. Take care.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.